The conspiracy theories are neither number nor measure. From time to time, new ones emerge, which at first even the most open-minded view skeptically. But as time goes on and new pieces of the puzzle are added, the picture becomes clearer and clearer, and slowly the theory becomes reality. For example, the existence of extraterrestrials was a belief 20 years ago, but now it is just a matter of information and research. However, there are theories that are so bold that they are completely beyond the bounds of rationality and could not be further from it. Yet they are worth examining because they are interesting and thought-provoking. Such is the case with the conspiracy theory linked to former US President Donald Trump and his son Barron Trump. The theory first came to light in 2017 and started to spread on social media. It all started when someone stumbled across a book on the Library of Congress Archives website called Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. The book was published in 1893, and the author was a man called Lockwood Ingersoll. This book was the second volume in a series of so-called Trump sci-fi novels, preceded by Travels and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Bulger, published 4 years earlier, and followed by The Last President, published 7 years later in 1900. Barron? Trump? Last President? Odd matches so far, but let's look further. Barron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey is about a young boy, Wilhelm Heinrich Sebastian von Trump, who goes by the name of Baron Trump. In the story, Barron discovers a secret underground portal that allows him to travel through time to different eras. If you look at the illustrations of the characters in the book, you will immediately notice that there is a striking resemblance between the features of Baron Trump and Donald Trump's son, Barron. What's more, some say it is downright creepy. Well, the Baron in the story has a mentor, a sort of father figure, a man called Don, and the action takes place in Russia. Yet again, this has given rise to speculation, given Donald Trump's relationship with Putin, and many have pointed out that Melania Trump, the former First Lady of the United States, who is the mother of the present Baron Trump, was born in Novo Mesto, Slovenia, before she emigrated. Although there were already interesting similarities between some elements of the novel and reality, things started to get really strange when the plot and details of the third volume of the 1900 novel series, The Last President, were examined by theorists. The story of the book is about a very rich man living on New York's Fifth Avenue. He decides to run for president, and of course no one expects him to win. Now, can you guess what can be currently found in the place described in the book? Well, it is the famous Trump Tower, located at 721 to 725 Fifth Avenue in New York City. Since the book series was written more than 120 years ago, it is very likely that this is indeed just a puzzling coincidence, but let's look further. After the inauguration of this rich man in the story, he begins to set up his cabinet. One of the first people he chooses to be Secretary of Agriculture is another mysterious gentleman who goes by the name of Mr. Pence. In reality, the vice president was called by the same name during the Trump administration, Mike Pence. It is true that the two posts are different, but still, another strange coincidence. After his inauguration, as no one expected him to win, violence erupts in New York City and the United States in general, with people rioting and vandalizing property. So naturally, the new president signs some new regulations to control people better. Now let's see the most incredible part of the whole theory. I think this is what will seem to even the most open-minded as over-speculation and fantasy. Nikola Tesla, the greatest inventor of our time, needs no introduction, I think. Although I assume that anyone who is interested in videos like this one is pretty much familiar with his work, the broad outline of what you need to know about him is that he has done a lot of work in the fields of electricity, magnetism, and physics in general. He was an absolutely brilliant mind, deeply immersed in experiments and research into free energy, and he wanted to share his discoveries and inventions with the world. He believed that energy should be made available to everyone as a right, free of charge, of course. But the great powers, the oil companies, and those who made billions from oil, coal, and other fossil fuels made it completely impossible. In early 1943, completely impoverished and forgotten, he died in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. After his death, all his records mysteriously disappeared from his room, most likely seized by the US government. But what perhaps fewer people know is that Tesla was generally quite critical of Einstein's theory of relativity because he did not believe that space could curve. He claimed to have developed his theory of matter and energy, which he began working on in 1892. In 1937, at the age of 81, he wrote a letter claiming to have completed his dynamic theory of gravity, which he wrote would put an end to idle speculation and false conceptions about curved space. However, this theory has not been found in any of his writings. It seems to have disappeared from all his records. Well, after the US government got hold of all Tesla's inventions, theories, and files, they were handed over to a department called the Alien Property Custodian, who, after looking through everything, handed them over to the FBI. I just note that in this case, alien is used in the traditional sense of the word, not to refer to the little Greys aliens. But what does all this have to do with Trump? Well, the FBI hired an outside engineer from MIT who was able to interpret Tesla's notes with a competent eye. And that engineer was none other than John Trump, a distinguished physicist, electrical engineer, inventor, and last but not least, Donald Trump's uncle, whom the former president loved and admired immensely. After studying everything, John Trump claimed that there was nothing in Tesla's inventions that could harm the US government. The theory, however, is that perhaps John Trump lied to the government to keep Tesla's theories out of the government's hands, and perhaps also to help his own family, who then not only time-traveled to the past to establish and create their vast fortunes, but to consolidate their power in society. This, by the way, reminds me of the second part of the Back to the Future trilogy, where Biff Tannen is able to use the almanac to build his fortune and become a multi-billionaire and the most influential man on Earth in the future. He also needed a time machine and access to information about the future. Yes, I know it's a very wild theory, yet the proponents of the theory believe that the Trump family wrote these books themselves, although there is no explanation as to why. Others believe that Ingersoll, the author of the books, was somehow influenced or asked to write the stories, although it remains questionable why any time traveler would want to reveal himself by writing his story in advance. What would be the point? Still others believe that Ingersoll wrote the books as a revelation and a warning, but most believe that this is nothing more than a series of coincidences. For my part, I believe that if there are too many coincidences, they are not coincidences. And then there is the journey to the inner Earth, which is actually what the second book is about. I don't want to go into this in any detail because I've already made several videos on the subject, which you can find in my videos, but it's strange that this theory comes up again. American film director and producer Lee Scott is currently working on a movie adaptation of the books, which we might see in the next few years, if the rumors are true. The theory is more complex than that. I've just tried to give you the gist of the video, so if you think I've missed something important, or you think something different, please let me know in the comments, or just write down your opinion. All the more so because every comment will help to recommend the video to others on YouTube. If you liked what you saw, give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to check back for my previous content. Thank you very much for your attention. I will be back soon with the next video.